courtroom was silent, not the quiet of a library, not the pause before someone speaks. This was the kind of silence where every breath felt loud. 12 jurors sat still. The judge faced forward. Luigi Mangione stood with his hands clasped, waiting. For years, this case lived in headlines, arguments, and public opinion. And now everything came down to two words. Words that would decide a man's fate, but what those words actually mean. This is something many people misunderstand. Today we break down the verdict in the Luigi Mangione trial, clearly, calmly, and honestly. No legal confusion, no courtroom theatrics, just the truth. From the beginning, this case was never simple. There was no DNA, no fingerprints. No weapon is directly linked to Luigi Mangione. No eyewitness who clearly identified him at the scene. Instead, the prosecution relied on a blurry surveillance image, phone records covering a wide area, witness statements that shifted over time, and a timeline filled with gaps. The defense did not claim to know who committed the crime. Their argument was simple. You cannot convict a man when the evidence does not remove reasonable doubt. That phrase, reasonable doubt, became the center of everything that followed. In this trial, the jury was not asked whether Luigi might have committed the crime. They were asked something much more specific. Did the prosecution prove, beyond a reasonable doubt, that Luigi Mangione committed this crime? That standard is intentionally high, because in criminal law, it is considered worse to imprison an innocent person than to let a possibly guilty one go free. Suspicion is not enough. Possibility is not enough. Even a strong belief is not enough. The evidence must be clear, consistent, and convincing. And here it wasn't. Behind closed doors, jurors reviewed the evidence again and again. The surveillance footage, the phone activity, the witness testimony, the timeline presented by the prosecution, and doubts kept surfacing. Could the footage truly confirm identity? Why was critical forensic evidence never tested? Why did the timeline conflict with digital records? Why were other potential suspects not fully investigated? No single issue destroyed the case, but together they created uncertainty, and uncertainty changes everything. When the jury returned to the courtroom, the air felt heavy. The verdict was read. Luigi Mangione was found not guilty. Let's be absolutely clear about what that means. The jury decided that the prosecution failed to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. It does not mean the jury declared Luigi innocent beyond all doubt. That distinction matters. A not guilty verdict indicates that the evidence presented was insufficient for a legal conviction. It does not mean the jury knows who committed the crime. It does not mean the case was solved. It does not mean all questions were answered. It means the law required acquittal. And once that verdict was delivered, everything changed. Luigi Mangione walked free, the charges were dismissed, and under the law, he cannot be tried again for the same crime. That door is permanently closed, but the story doesn't end neatly. The crime itself remains unresolved. Public opinion remains divided, and the victim's family is still left without clear answers. Justice followed the law, even if the truth remains uncertain. The Luigi Mangione trial leaves us with an uncomfortable reality. Courtrooms do not determine absolute truth. They determine whether evidence meets a legal standard. And sometimes the most honest verdict is not certainty, but doubt. Luigi Mangione was found not guilty, not because the jury knew exactly what happened, but the evidence could not prove it. And that leaves one final question hanging in the silence. If Luigi didn't do this, then who did? A verdict can be final, but the truth is often complicated. At Shadow Case Files, we don't tell you what to believe. We give you the facts, the questions, and the space to think, because every case leaves a shadow, and some shadows never fully disappear. This is a Shadow Case File.